Okay, so today we're diving into something pretty cool. Casino Royale.
Yeah.
Remember all the chatter when Daniel Craig was announced as Bond? Everyone was like,
Oh,
what?
oh, yeah, I remember that.
But then Casino Royale comes out and it kind of blew everyone away, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So today we're going to figure out why that happened.
Yeah.
We're going to do that by going straight to what people were saying back then.
That's right.
We've got a whole stack of IMDb user reviews
From 2006.
for Casino Royale.
Yep.
And we've got everything glowing reviews,
Right.
people who didn't love it so much.
Yeah, really a full spectrum
Yeah.
of how people reacted to the film.
I love that.
Yeah.
It's like a snapshot
Yeah, exactly.
of how audiences were connecting with this
Right.
new version of Bond.
Definitely.
So for you, what's the first thing that jumps out?
When we start looking at these reviews, well, one thing that's really interesting
Yeah.
is just how many people saw Casino Royale as like a
Yeah.
total shift, you know,
Oh, yeah.
from what we expected from a Bond film.
Yeah. It's not just like another mission. It
Oh,
feels
yeah.
like a complete reboot almost,
Yeah.
you know? Back to this grittier, more realistic kind of...
Yes.
Yeah.
And a huge contrast from like the invisible cars and all the crazy gadgets we saw in Die Another Day.
Yeah. Yeah, that was the last Pierce Brosnan film, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And a lot of the reviewers,
Yeah.
like Hilfien 78, for example,
Yeah.
they saw this like darker, more grounded tone
Mm-hmm.
as a good thing.
Yeah?
They felt like it was actually more true
Interesting.
to the original Ian Fleming novels.
Right?
Hilfien 78 even said that the tone was
Yeah.
much edgier and nastier than the Brosnan movies, harking back more to Dr. No or For Your Eyes Only.
I like that. It's like
Yeah,
taking away all the extra stuff and getting back to
exactly.
what makes Bond so cool, you know?
Yeah, getting back to that core
Yeah.
of what makes him interesting.
Yeah.
And you see that, too,
Yeah.
with Daniel Craig's performance.
Oh, Daniel Craig.
Yeah.
I remember when he was cast.
Oh, the internet was on fire.
People were freaking out. Like,
Yeah.
could he actually pull it off?
Right. Can this guy be Bond?
But then you see the movie.
Yeah.
And he's so raw,
Uh-huh.
so intense.
Yeah.
And he embodies that. Like,
He really does.
cold-hearted killer, but somehow there's also this depth to it.
Right.
You know?
And the reviewers were just floored.
Yeah.
One reviewer, Nazi fighter David, even said that Craig so lets you in behind his blue eyes and into his emotional life.
It's like he's bringing this vulnerability
Yeah.
to the role that we haven't seen before.
Yeah.
It makes you wonder.
Yeah.
Because some people felt like he didn't have that classic Bond charm.
Yeah, like that suave, that Sean Connery kind
Oh,
of
yeah.
demeanor.
Yeah. Do you think... Go ahead.
That vulnerability almost makes him
It's a really interesting question.
more believable,
Yeah.
more
Yeah.
human. It's something that a lot of the reviewers were wrestling with.
Right.
And I think for a lot of people,
Yeah.
Craig's performance felt really fresh.
Yeah.
He's still deadly, of course, still capable,
Right.
but you see the cost.
Yeah.
You see how this life is wearing on him.
It's definitely a different Bond
Right.
than we've seen before.
For sure.
But it's not just the acting that makes Casino Royale different, right?
Well, definitely not.
There's also the action.
Absolutely.
It's brutal, it's visceral, and it feels real.
Forget all the CGI
Right.
from the other movies.
Yeah.
The action in Casino Royale.
It's like you're there. I mean,
Yeah.
that parkour chase in the beginning,
Oh, yeah.
that's just a masterclass
Amazing.
in suspense and just physicality.
And they brought in Sebastian Foucan,
Right.
a real free runner.
To choreograph
Yeah.
and actually be in that scene.
Yeah.
Which adds to the realism.
Let's do it with.
You can feel the stakes,
Yes.
every jump, every move.
Yeah. And that's what's so smart about Casino Royale.
Yeah.
It understands that real suspense
Yeah.
goes beyond
Yeah.
just explosions and car chases.
And this is where it gets really interesting.
Okay.
You have this poker game
Uh-huh.
with incredibly high stakes,
Yeah.
but it becomes this battle of wits, this
Mhm.
psychological thriller.
Yeah. You're on the edge of your seat the whole time.
Yeah, totally.
One reviewer, Leonardo Gaffson, said,
Okay.
"The high-stakes poker game itself unfolds in a way that creates enormous suspense and excitement. These scenes at the card table are so perfectly crafted, the audience is left with even greater anticipation and excitement than any action scene in the film."
And it's true. You find yourself like just as invested in Bond
Right?
outsmarting his opponent
Yeah.
as you are in him
Uh-huh.
escaping a hail of bullets.
Totally.
It really speaks to like that
Yeah.
core of the spy genre, right?
Absolutely.
The intelligence,
Yes.
the strategy,
The deception.
all of that. Yeah.
And Casino Royale doesn't just nail the action and suspense.
Yeah.
It also gives us a Bond girl
Oh, yeah.
who totally changes the game.
Eva Green as Vesper Lind.
Amazing.
Forget those typical Bond girl tropes.
Right, she's not just there to look good.
Yeah.
She's smart. She's complex.
She challenges Bond.
On every level.
On every level.
Reviewer Leonardo Daffson said that Green perfectly portrayed the charm, wit, determination, and overall likability of Vesper.
And she's not just there for the looks.
No.
Nazi fighter David talked about the electric chemistry between Green and Craig, saying that Vesper's character seems ambiguous, impudent, and complicated.
She's got her own secrets, her own agenda.
It feels like Casino Royale is taking those familiar Bond elements, the exotic locations, the beautiful women, but it's giving them this depth, this nuance.
Yes.
But is it still a Bond film?
Yeah. Is this a total reinvention? Or just an evolution?
Yeah, that's the big question.
That is the question.
And reviewers were going back and forth on this one.
Oh, yeah. They were really debating it.
Some people saw it as like a necessary update for the franchise.
Right. A way to stay relevant, but still honor the Bond legacy.
While others felt like it strayed too far.
Too far from the formula.
Yeah. It's fascinating to see how people really grappled with this reinvention.
For sure.
So when you look at Daniel Craig, compared to the other Bonds, where do you think he stacks up?
It's tough.
I mean, does his grittier, more vulnerable style hold up against, like, the iconic performances of Sean Connery?
Right.
Or even Timothy Dalton?
Well, I think each Bond reflects the time he was created, right?
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Connery was that, like, suave, sophisticated Bond of the 60s. Yeah. And then Dalton brought that darker, broodier energy. In the late 80s. And then you have Craig embodying this complex, vulnerable, but still deadly Bond of the 21st century. It's really interesting to see how the character has evolved.
It is. It really is.
Yeah, and reviewer Hill 1078 made a really interesting point. They said that it's hard to say whether he's better than any of the other Bonds. Connery and Brosnan felt right for the style of Bond movies they were in. Here, as suits the overall tone of the film, Bond is much more of a sadist, a cold-hearted killer with very little sense of empathy. And Craig, with his piercing eyes, suits the role very well.
It's like each Bond is reflecting a different side of the character, and maybe even our expectations of what a hero should bring.
It changes over time.
But we can't forget that not everyone loved this new direction.
Yeah, some people had issues with it.
We have to talk about those too.
Absolutely.
What were some of the main criticisms?
Well, some reviewers, like Mr. George Kaplan, they felt like Casino Royale was missing. That classic Bond humor, the crazy gadgets. He even said, oh, it's a good film. In fact, it is a great film. It's just not a Bond film.
And then there were others, like art frodes, who just missed that more traditional Bond style. They thought Craig was too different.
Yeah, too far removed from what they expected.
Yeah, I get that change can be hard.
It can be.
Especially with something like James Bond that people love so much.
Yeah, but what's important is that Casino Royale got people talking.
Yeah.
It challenged what we thought a Bond film could be.
It really did.
Yeah.
It shook things up.
It did.
So far.
Yeah.
We've talked about a lot of what makes Casino Royale so interesting. That gritty realism.
Right.
The complex characters.
Yes.
The intense action. The psychological suspense. It's all there. But there's another layer here that we need to explore.
Definitely.
The themes and the ideas that are kind of hidden beneath the surface.
Right. It's not just a stylish action movie.
Right.
There are some big ideas at play here.
Like trust and betrayal.
Yeah.
The cost of violence. That's some pretty heavy stuff.
It is.
For a Bond film.
Yeah.
So let's dive into those themes in part 2.
Sounds good.
Yeah.
So welcome back. And you know, as we go deeper into these reviews, it really hits you. The Casino Royale is doing more than just giving you thrills.
It's not all tuxedos and martinis.
Yeah, it's not all fun and games.
Like we were saying, trust and betrayal, the cost of violence.
Those are some big themes.
Yeah, for a Bond film.
Yeah, and they're not just kind of like thrown in there.
Yeah.
They're really woven into the whole story, the characters, even the action.
let's talk about trust.
Okay.
Because that seems like such a key part
of the spy world.
Yeah, in that world.
You constantly have to figure out who you can rely on.
Yeah, who's on your side.
And the stakes are
huge.
So high.
Yeah, one wrong move.
Yeah.
And it could be over.
It's like a pressure cooker.
Yeah, and you see that in Bond's relationship with Vesper Lynd.
Oh, their relationship is so interesting.
Complicated.
Because on one hand, there's this spark.
Right.
This real connection.
There's something there.
But then as things progress, doubt starts to creep in.
Yeah, he starts to question things.
Bond's caught between his feelings for her and his duty as an agent.
Exactly.
He almost can't afford to trust anyone.
Yeah, not even
the woman he's falling for.
And then you have Vesper.
Right.
Who's this total mystery.
Yeah.
We find out she's playing her own game.
It's a dangerous one.
And Bond's caught.
Right. In the middle.
In the middle.
Yeah, and she makes you think.
Yeah.
About what trust even means in this world.
Yeah. Can a spy ever really let someone in?
Right.
Knowing the risks?
It makes you wonder.
It does.
If someone like Bond
can
ever have a real relationship.
And then there's the violence.
Oh, yeah.
The film doesn't shy away from...
Not at all.
The reality of what Bond does.
And it's not like over-the-top action movie violence.
Right.
This feels real.
It feels like it affects him.
Yes.
Yeah.
You see it in the torture scene.
Yeah.
Even in the way he kills.
Yeah, there's a coldness there.
Yeah, a detachment.
That some people found disturbing.
Yeah, but also kind of fascinating.
It's like we're seeing his heart hardening.
Like he's becoming a weapon.
Yeah.
One reviewer called Bond a sadist, a cold-hearted killer with very little sense of empathy.
Is that too harsh?
It's a good question.
Or is that just the reality of being a spy?
I mean, some people saw that as like going against that classic Bond charm.
Yeah.
But others thought it added more depth.
Right.
More realism.
And you remember how that one reviewer said that Craig lets you see behind his eyes? Even though there's this coldness, there's still that vulnerability.
It's a really nuanced performance.
It makes you think,
did
he choose this path?
Right.
Or was it chosen for him?
Did he have to become this way?
It's almost like Casino Royale.
Yeah.
Is this tragedy dressed up as an action film?
It's a really interesting way to look at it.
You see Bond at his most vulnerable.
Yeah.
And then he just shuts down.
Right. He closes himself off.
Yeah.
And I think that's what sets Casino Royale apart.
Yeah.
It's willing to explore those darker sides.
Yeah.
Of the spy world.
Yeah.
It makes you think.
It's not just entertainment.
Right. It stays with you.
It makes you think about...
Yeah, the cost of duty.
Yeah.
What it means to be a hero.
Those are some heavy themes.
They are.
But it's not all doom and gloom.
Oh, no, definitely not.
It still has that Bond style.
It's beautifully shot.
Yeah, the locations are amazing. Yeah. The action is thrilling. And let's be honest, Daniel Craig looks really good in a tuxedo.
He does. He pulls it off.
So taking everything into account, the themes, the action, the character, where do you land?
Does Casino Royale deserve a place in the Bond canon?
I think based on these reviews, it's a resounding yes.
Yeah.
Casino Royale is bold, it's stylish, it's thought-provoking, it honors the Bond legacy, but it also pushes things forward. Yeah. It's a film that you need to see.
That you need to talk about.
Yeah.
And Daniel Craig is just perfect.
Yeah, he brings that raw vulnerability that changes what it means.
Yeah, he redefines
to be Bond.
What it means to be Bond.
What about those people who said it wasn't a true Bond film?
It's interesting.
Yeah.
Because even those reviewers who missed the gadgets or the humor, they still admitted that it was a good film.
Yeah, like Mr. George Kaplan.
Yeah.
He said it was a great film.
Yeah.
But not a Bond film.
I think Casino Royale really got under people's skin.
Yeah.
It made them question what they really wanted from a Bond film.
Casino Royale was a game changer.
It was.
It breathed new life into the franchise.
Absolutely.
But with all this focus on the new, it also makes you think about how this film, which is like an origin story.
Right, to the beginning.
Connects to the 007 we know and love.
From the other films.
From all the other films.
That's a great question.
And that's what we're going to talk about in part 3.
Well, let's do it.
Okay, so we're back for the final part.
Part 3.
Of our Casino Royale deep dive. We've talked about a lot.
Yeah, we have.
The plot, the characters, those amazing action sequences, and all those surprisingly deep themes.
It's a lot more than just an action movie.
But there's still one question we need to answer.
Okay, what's that?
How does this film, which is basically Bond's origin story,
we see
connect to the 007?
Right.
We know from all the other films.
A Bond we all know and love?
Right. If Casino Royale is Bond stripped bare, raw and vulnerable,
at the start of his career,
what does it tell us about the man he'll become?
That's what's so cool about this film.
Yeah.
We see Bond before he puts on the mask.
Yeah.
He's impulsive. He's reckless.
Yeah.
He wants to prove himself.
Yeah,
He's not the refined weapon.
Right.
He'll become later.
Not yet. More of a blunt instrument.
Exactly. Yeah. But he learned some tough lessons in Casino Royale.
Yeah.
He has to face the consequences.
Yeah.
Betrayal, loss, heartbreak.
And it changes him.
Leaves a mark.
Vesper Lynd's death.
Yeah.
That feels like the real turning point.
That's the moment.
It just shatters his illusions.
Yeah, about love and trust.
He becomes hardened.
Yeah.
Cynical.
The brutal lesson.
And it explains a lot.
Right.
About why he is the way he is.
It does.
In the later films.
Yeah, the guarded.
Right.
Emotionally detached demeanor.
So you're saying Casino Royale, especially Vesper's death, it shapes him into,
in a lot of ways,
the iconic 007.
I think so.
Wow.
I mean, this film sets up so much of his future persona.
Right. Like his cynicism.
Yeah.
His unwillingness to let anyone in.
He keeps people at a distance.
And that willingness to do whatever it takes.
Whatever it takes to get the job done.
To complete the mission.
Well, exactly.
It's like Casino Royale is a tragedy.
It kind of is right.
Masquerading as an action film.
Yeah, we see Bond at his most vulnerable.
And then he just builds up these walls.
He retreats into himself.
It's such a powerful idea.
And it makes you wonder, did he choose this path?
Right.
Or was it forced on him?
Yeah, was there always this darkness inside him?
Or did he have to become this way
to survive?
To survive in that world.
I love that.
Yeah.
The film doesn't give you easy answers.
It makes you think.
You're left with this Bond.
Yeah.
Who's both sympathetic and unsettling.
Capable of great love.
Yeah.
But also incredible cruelty.
And that makes him such a compelling character.
Yeah.
He's not just a typical hero.
He's flawed. He's contradictory.
He's real.
And by showing us his beginnings, Casino Royale makes all the other Bond films more interesting, more layered.
We understand him better.
We see the weight he carries.
Yeah.
The ghosts that haunt him.
It was a bold move.
Oh, yeah.
To reboot the franchise.
Go back to the start.
By going back to the beginning.
Yeah, but it worked.
It did. It gave us a Bond for a new generation.
While still respecting what came before.
So as we wrap up,
here's
something to think about.
Right.
If you could ask Daniel Craig's Bond one question, knowing what we know now.
Knowing his whole story.
What would it be?
Would you ask him if he regrets it?
Yeah.
If all the pain and loss.
Was it worth it?
Was it worth it in the end?
Casino Royale is a film that raises more questions than it answers.
It really does.
It's a look at how a legend is made.
Yeah.
And it makes us think about what that legend really means.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive.